My name's Jeremy Myers. I am the Christensen Chair of Religion and Vocation here at Augsburg, or Christensen Professor. I think I say that incorrectly every time. This is a partnership we've been doing for a few years now, the Christensen Center for Vocation and Campus Ministry, where we invite members of our community to come share a part of their story during this time. Part of their story related to their sense of call, their sense of vocation, or how they thrive in their life, how they came to understand themselves as who they are, how they show up as themselves on a daily basis. And it's been really fruitful and fun, a lovely time to see each other and reconnect with one another. And today, especially to get to know a little bit more about a new member of our community. And I have a long introduction, which I'm going to read the whole thing because it's quite impressive. And since we don't all know Amy, I think it's important that we hear all of this. And before I do that, in a couple weeks, we get to hear from Yaqub Al-Jeffrey from the Education Department, who will be sharing his story. He's in the Education Department. And I just had a chance to sit with him yesterday and hear his story. He's been teaching English since he was 12 years old in a refugee camp. So come in a few weeks to hear more of his story. And then in December, on December 3rd, Vanessa Marr from the Social Work Department will be with us. Today we have Amy Cooper, our new Director of Athletics, where she leads the university's NCAA Division III athletics program with a mission rooted in access, equity, and student-centered success. Amy is a Minneapolis native and a Washburn High grad. She returned home to guide Augsburg's athletics in a new era of growth, competitive excellence, and transformative student-athlete experience. Amy most recently served as Senior Associate Athletics Director at the University of St. Thomas, where she directed the Tommies' historic transition from Division III to Division I. And in that role, she oversaw compliance, financial operations, and gender equity initiatives while serving as sport administrator for baseball, women's basketball, women's tennis, and volleyball. Her leadership helped shape the university's strategic approach during a time of rapid expansion and cultural change. And prior to St. Thomas, Amy served as the Associate Athletic Director for Administration at Howard University and Director of Athletics at Trinity Washington University. Earlier in her career, she held coaching positions at South Carolina State University, Southwest Minnesota State University, and Prairie View A&M University, where she helped launch the institution's first women's soccer program. Amy is also a decorated multi-sport student athlete. She excelled in track, soccer, track and field, basketball, and swimming and diving at Washburn. Sometimes I have to go home after these and call my mom and just say, "Mom, will you remind me of how good of a person I am?" She went on to compete in Division I soccer at Howard University, the only HBCU with a women's soccer team at the time, and became the first female HBCU player to earn all Big South honors. Amy holds a Bachelor of Business Administration from Howard and a Master of Education from Prairie View A&M. In 2024, she was recognized with the Wilma Rudolph Courage Award by the Minnesota Coalition of Women in Athletic Leadership, honoring her resilience and advocacy throughout a career devoted to building inclusive, empowering environments for student athletes. And I'll end with this quote from Amy: "Augsburg's mission aligns deeply with my own commitments to access and student-centered learning. Throughout my career, I've championed spaces where all student athletes feel valued and empowered. Athletics is a transformative vehicle, and I'm committed to ensuring every student's experience reflects that." Impressive? Let's welcome our new colleague, Amy Cooper.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. I'm Amy Cooper, as you know, Director of Athletics here at Augsburg. When I was 5, I started running and playing sports, and from that moment, something just clicked. Running gave me freedom, soccer gave me focus, and sports gave me safety. I grew up as a black girl adopted into a white family in Minneapolis. At home, I was loved, but I was different. At school, I stood out, and not always in a good way. People often mistook me for a boy, and although it sounds small now, at the time it was just a reminder that I didn't fit cleanly into anyone's expectations or anyone's box. I didn't fit the picture other people had in their heads. So I learned early that the world feels most comfortable when you fit into its boxes, and that I probably never would. But when I ran, none of that mattered. On the field or track, I could breathe, I could move, I could just be. In first grade, I had a reading book called Never Give Up. For some odd reason, that title stayed with me always. It's the only textbook that I still remember. And looking back, I held onto it, and I think it was because I needed it. Even then, I was trying to tell myself something important. Don't stop moving. By middle school, I was lonely, and I was a little worn down from being bullied and trying to fit into a world that didn't quite fit me. Every day after school, I'd go home, I'd sit on my rug, and I would cry and give myself pep talks. I'd say, "You're smart, you're nice, you're gonna be somebody someday, don't listen to them. You'll be someone." And I would just repeat that over and over. And those moments on the rug, they were my never give up sessions and lessons in real time. They taught me how to believe in myself before anyone else did. That's where the resilience began for me, not in victories, but in private, quiet determination. When I got to high school, things shifted. I grew my hair out, and suddenly people saw me differently. The same kids who ignored me and bullied me wanted to be my friends. Overnight, I went from outsider to accepted. And you think that would make me feel good, but it didn't. I didn't really trust it, because I'd already learned quickly that people could change on you. So I went along with it. I smiled when I needed to, but I did keep my wall up a bit. I let people close, but not in. And that experience has never really left me. It taught me that acceptance without understanding isn't real belonging. That lesson still shapes the way I lead today. I want every student, every staff member, and every coach to feel seen for who they are, not what they look like or what others expect of them. Through all of that, running and soccer stayed my constant. They're my refuge, my rhythm, and my reset button. I loved the way running cleared my head, and I loved the way soccer required me to think while I moved, to read the field, to anticipate patterns, connect people in motion. Soccer to me was a big puzzle that rewarded both my instinct and intellect. At the time, I didn't know I was autistic. I wouldn't learn that until much later in life. But now it makes perfect sense. How I saw systems that other people didn't, and I noticed small details that changed big outcomes, how movement helped my brain find order when the world around me just didn't seem to have any. Sports were the one place where I didn't have to mask to perform. I could just exist. And soccer took me to Howard University, where I got a scholarship to play Division I soccer. At the time, Howard was the only HBCU in the country with a women's soccer team. For the first time, I wasn't the only one who looked like me. I was surrounded by strong, confident Black women who pushed me, encouraged me, loved the same sport that I loved, and made me proud of who I was. Howard gave me community, it gave me perspective, and it gave me a sense of pride that I didn't have before. Those years were also about exploration, and I was figuring out who I was as a leader and as a woman. And I still don't have language for a lot of what made me different. But I didn't know I was neurodivergent. I didn't yet know about the chronic illnesses that were waiting just a few years ahead. All I knew was that sports were where I felt most whole. At 24, that changed. I started with knee pain that wouldn't go away, and then came the diagnosis: arthritis, lupus, compartment leg syndrome. One by one, they began to take away the only thing that had always grounded me: running. For years, running had been how I focused, how I thought, how I managed all the chaos in my head. So when it was gone, I felt like I'd lost a big part of me. But life has a way of repeating its lessons until you really learn them. And never give up came back to me again. At this time, it wasn't about pushing through pain, it was about adapting and finding new ways to move forward. So now I run differently. I run programs, I run systems, I run towards people, and I run towards progress. In doing that, I found something even deeper than the freedom of a sprint. I found purpose. I realized that what I loved about running and soccer wasn't just the movement, but the momentum. It's helping things grow, helping people move, and helping ideas come to life. That's when I understood my calling, to lead in ways that create opportunity, equity, and belonging for others. The little girl sitting on that rug was right. I did become someone, but not because life was easy, because I kept showing up. And that's what thriving means to me. It's not perfection, it's persistence. It's learning to keep going, even when the plan changes. It's turning challenge into motion and loss into leadership. People sometimes ask me how I stay motivated when my body hurts or when work feels heavy. And the truth is, I never stopped running. I just changed what I'm running towards. I run for the student athlete who doubts herself. I run for the young woman who's labeled as aggressive, but who's misunderstood and still hopeful. I run for the kid sitting on the rug whispering, "Don't listen to them, you're gonna be somebody someday." And I run for every person who ever's felt out of place, to remind them that their difference isn't a flaw, it's a power. I may not be able to run around lakes anymore, but I still chase the same feeling, the wind, the rhythm, and the freedom of being fully myself. Only now, I chase it by helping others find their own stride. Because thriving isn't about the finish line, it's about the motion, it's about the purpose, and it's about clearing the path for others as you go. I may not run anymore, but I still move forward, and I'll keep clearing space for others to run to. Thank you.